What if Itachi was brother of Madara Uchiha? Hey everyone. Welcome back to Nothing But Anime. We're diving into part 7 of our all-new series, What if Itachi was brother of Madara Uchiha series today. If you're enjoying the journey, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more exciting content. Now, let's get into it and see where this adventure takes us next. They're in the village? Itachi asks, mildly interested. Itama nods as the two walk toward the meeting room delegated to where the Uchiha and Senju clans could hold personal clan meetings and where they could come together to discuss the future of their new village. Right now it was being used to meet a new client. It's 4 guards and a young lord, from what I hear, Itama says. What about a pretentious servant? Itachi asks coyly, not really interested in the stuck-up royal in the slightest. Itama looks over at Itachi, curiously. Itachi shrugs his shoulders at the unasked question. It doesn't matter, Itachi says simply. I was just asking to ask. Itama smiles a bit, obviously not understanding. Okay, he says. They walk toward the meeting building with 2 guards stationed out front. They look at them mistrustfully as they approach. But 1 Uchiha and 1 Senju guard on either side of them both quickly aside, letting the 2 heirs pass. The guards don't have much choice but to let them go through. Itachi and Itama both remove their shoes outside the door, next to the other pairs of shoes before walking in. Itachi, being the last in, closes the door softly behind himself. Ah, Hashirama was saying. Sorry about the wait, my lord. These were the 2 we were waiting for. I am Itama Senju, Itama says, tipping his head respectfully to the young lord sitting on the opposite side of a long wooden table in the center of the room from Madara, Hashirama, Tobirama, and Izuna. Itama takes his place on the far side of the room from the door, next to Tobirama. Itachi lowers himself to the spot on the other side of Izuna, tucking his feet neatly beneath himself before slowly raising his eyes to the people in front of them. There is 2 guards, the same ones Itachi met the month before, against the wall behind the same servant that Itachi spoke to at that time too. The young lord sat next to the servant, dressed in a finer attire with beads around his neck, rings on his fingers and short brown hair, long enough to be slicked back from his large green eyes. His face is thin and pale. His nose is straight and his jawline is prominent. He's a handsome young man. He's got to be around Izuna's age. His eyes is locked on Itachi, wide and somehow wondrous, like he was seeing something beautiful and otherworldly before him. Itachi tips his head a bit in greeting. My lord, I am Itachi Uchiha, Itachi says softly, eyes flickering over to the servant, who was frowning unhappily about seeing Itachi in this important meeting with them. He lifts his chin a bit in a silent scoff. I am Madara Uchiha's youngest brother. The servant's face twitches slightly. Itachi's eyes slide back over to the young lord, still staring at him. It's a pleasure to meet you, my lord. Geumu holds his hand out for Itachi to take. After a split second, Itachi takes it, shaking his hand slowly. I am Geumu, the young lord says, smiling charmingly. And I must say, Uchiha-san, you are by far the most beautiful creature I have ever seen. All the heads snap in their direction, eyes wide. Itachi could feel Izuna tense next to him. Itachi blinks a few times, confused. I believe you misheard me, my lord, Itachi says slowly. I am no girl. I am Madara's little brother, not his little sister. Geumu smiles, pleased. I heard you, Uchiha Itachi. But beauty knows nothing of gender or race or family. His hand squeezes Itachi's a bit. And you are beautiful, if I may be so bold. Itachi says slowly, not sure how to respond. His face heats up a bit, forcing himself to look away. It is kind of you to say such things, but I am undeserving of such words. I thank you for them, though. Geumu pats Itachi's hand softly before finally letting him go. The air around them is tense and greatly uncomfortable. I am a man that enjoys beautiful things, Uchiha Itachi, Geumu says simply. There is no need to thank me. I heard rumors of the beauty within the Uchiha clan and was thankfully not disappointed. So really, I should be thanking you. Itachi runs a hand through his hair, embarrassed, as he glances over at the young lord through his thin carpet of black hair. He doesn't respond to the young lord's words, not sure he knows how. No one has ever spoken to him like that before. It's embarrassing, especially around his brothers and the Senju brothers too. Itachi was expecting much from this exchange, but this was not it. Sorry about that, Geumu says simply, smiling toward a shocked Madara and Hashirama. What were you saying? Hashirama says slowly, eyes wide as saucers, looking over at Madara to see the shocked older brother of Itachi, unable to form a single coherent thought as he processed what just happened. Hashirama shakes his head, filing away this incident to think about later and delicately returns to talking about business. He keeps sending looks over at the Uchiha patriarch, to see him going from complete shock to anger. Thankfully, Madara has tact. His eyes narrowed and his expression turned stony, but other than that, he didn't have any other outward change. That, and he didn't talk for the remainder of the meeting. Once the young lord and his entourage left the village, escorted out by the 2 sets of 3 siblings, they all returned to the meeting room and sat down. The Senju brothers sat on the opposite side of the Uchiha brothers, the side that the young lord sat in not 10 minutes prior. Madara made sure not to sit on that side, obviously feeling more free to be pissed now that their guests are gone. I hate him, Madara says, finally speaking after being quiet for a good portion of an hour. Brother, Itachi says, looking over at Madara from the oldest brother's left side. There is no reason to be like that. Madara glares at him. No, Itachi, did you see the way he looked at you? How he talked to you? I can't believe. He looks away, eyebrows pulled together tightly. I'm not bothered, Itama says slowly, drawing the rest of their eyes to him. I mean, it was uncomfortable for all of us, I'm sure. I can't imagine how you felt, Itachi, but I wasn't bothered by him being attracted to Itachi. He hesitates, as if wondering how to explain himself. What bothered me was how open he was about it. Tobirama crosses his arms over his chest and closes his eyes. I can agree with Itama. While attractions to men is difficult in our society to swallow, there are people out there that do hold such thoughts and feelings, and while I agree with Itama about not being bothered by his sexual orientation, it's uncommon to be so open about desiring someone of the same gender. It's especially audacious of him to do it here, in front of people he'll be working with in the future, and the object of his affection's older brothers are here too. It's strange. Madara crosses his arms over his chest and glares at the table in front of him. It's uncalled for. It's unprofessional. Hashirama tries to smile, but it's wan and strained. I agree, I suppose. Madara's glare rises to Hashirama. What the hell do you mean by that? Hashirama holds up his hands in surrender. Peace, brother. I didn't mean to insinuate anything by that, Hashirama says. What I meant is it's different with us. We, and that includes yourself, see Uchiha all day every day. We have since we were children. Before I ever met an Uchiha, in private or on the battlefield, I was told of your ethereal beauty, Hashirama says placatingly. Madara's glare softens slightly. What do you mean by that? Hashirama leans forward onto the table, resting his forearms on it. Uchiha are beautiful people, brother. Being an Uchiha, it's hard for you to see, but that's how people see you. I can understand how he felt somehow. I understand that it was out of place and unprofessional for him to say that, but it can be overwhelming to see an Uchiha for the first time. We're Uchiha, Izuna says sharply. He reacted normally to us. Not so true, Tobirama says, opening his eyes. He was paying close attention to both of you as well. It was only until Itachi arrived. He just wasn't as vocal about his intrigue with you as he was with Itachi. Lucky me, Itachi mumbles, but he's not sure how he feels about it. He was embarrassed and a bit uncomfortable, but all of that could easily be chalked up to the fact that no one has ever shown such interest in him before. He was always just Madara and Izuna's little brother. Sure, he made his name amongst his clan and the Senju too, but Itachi didn't care about any of that. His entire life, for as long as he can remember, has been about his brothers. Their happiness, their lives, their survival. That was all that mattered to Itachi. This was an interesting moment in his life, but ultimately nothing will come of it. Itachi has no interest in seeking out love, especially with someone who isn't a shinobi and so far away from his brothers. Itachi has to be with them and protect them until they no longer need him. Only then will his usefulness be spent. I just can't believe he said that in front of us, Izuna says, shaking his head. Where does he think he is? This isn't the damn capital where you can go around being as fruity as you want. We may be out in the sticks, but we still have social norms and common decency. Madara vicious scratches at the back of his head, obvious angry and upset but agreeable with Izuna's words. I perhaps wouldn't use fruity to describe him, Tobirama says simply, and would advise against saying such a thing in his presence, but still, he sighs, unfolding his arms and placing them behind himself before leaning back against them. I won't, Izuna says drolly. I'm not an idiot. Itama puts his hands up. Tobirama wasn't saying that. It's just, we're all brothers here. I would be protective if someone was hitting on one of my brothers, man or woman, he says placatingly. Hashirama nods in agreement. It wasn't a jab at intellect, Izuna. Tobirama was just expressing concern over. Hashirama squints at the ceiling over Izuna's head, unseeing the annoyed glare the middle Uchiha brother was sending him as he searches for the words. I am already naturally protective of my little brothers. As the eldest, it's my job to be weary of all that come into their lives. I wouldn't be happy about someone disregarding me and having so much attention aimed at either Tobirama or Itama. I worry over possibly saying something unfavorable to them out of protective nature for my brothers, rather than be conscientious of our need for this man and his missions. Izuna looks like he wants to argue. Maybe pick a fight with Tobirama, but Madara sighs, rubbing at his forehead, and speaks before Izuna can. Perhaps you are right, Hashirama. This may be a different situation had it been Itama. Hashirama nods, smiling without mirth. Yes, I probably would have been as upset as you had that been the case. But it wasn't me, Itama says softly, brown eyes looking at the side of his eldest brother's face. It was Itachi, Izuna says, eyes flickering over to his baby brother. And the two of you are already fiercely protective of him to begin with, when no one has their attention on him. Tobirama puts out, looking over at Itachi for the first time since they came back to the room. Itachi had just been sitting back, listening to them quietly for the majority of the time since they came back. He locks eyes with Tobirama and tilts his head to the side slightly. Yes, How do you feel about this? Tobirama asks. We don't have to send you on any of these missions or ask you to come to the meetings if it makes you uncomfortable. Hashirama says kindly, eyebrows pulled together tightly. Itachi is endeared once more for the Senju clan leader, offering him a faint smile. I'm fine. I was caught off guard, but wasn't insulted in any way by his words. Itachi, Madara says, turning toward Itachi and putting a hand on either of his shoulders, making the youngest Uchiha brother turn his entire body toward his brother. There is no need for you to attempt to be strong. You don't have to try and placate us. If he makes you uncomfortable, you don't have to have anything to do with him. Itachi pulls Madara's hands from his shoulders and holds them in his. I'm fine, brother. I'm by no means delicate. Besides, holding his affections could benefit us. He'll be more willing to send missions our way so long as he holds affections for me. Itachi shrugs his shoulders. Logically, it's smart to utilize his interest in me to help us build our village, both physically and reputation-wise. Hashirama's eyebrows pull together tightly. What are you saying, Itachi? Itachi shrugs his shoulders again. Raising this village from the ground up is going to take a lot of work. We don't have the leeway to be picky about jobs. Besides, all he did was appreciate my appearance. Nothing more. It's not like he asked to sleep with me. But if he did, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, I suppose. What? Madara and Hashirama yelled at the same time, making everyone else, including Itachi, jump. They both look at each other with large eyes before turning their attention back to Itachi. What do you mean by that, Itachi? Tobirama asks, leaning forward, red eyes honed in on Itachi's face. Itachi releases Madara's hands and crosses his arms over his chest. I'm just telling you the truth. The life of a shinobi is not a pretty one. I've seen missions before where information needed to be acquired from a subject by using more physical means, and it's not always smart to beat the information out of them. I've heard more intimate ways are needed to get the information. Itachi shrugs his shoulders again. Don't look at me like that, Aniki. Are you kidding me? Izuna snaps, leaning forward to look past Madara at Itachi in disbelief. You would fuck that guy? Itachi nods once. Sure, so long as it benefits the village. We don't need that. Hashirama says quickly. Madara nods quickly in agreement as Hashirama continues. While we appreciate you willing to go so far for us and the village, there is no need for something like that to be done. Itachi nods again. Very well. Hashirama looks over at Madara and lets out a slow breath. Well, I guess that's it for today, yeah? Or does anyone have anything else to discuss? Everyone slowly shakes their head in negative. Hashirama jumps to his feet, clapping his hands together quickly. Good. Then let's head out. Then he quickly runs from the building like his ass was on fire. Itachi, let's talk. Madara says, standing up. Come, Izuna. So, Madara didn't like Itachi's insinuation about a possible future request. Izuna didn't like it either. They spent the better part of the next 2 hours talking to Itachi about what an absolutely horrible idea it is trying to sell himself to some crazy land of fire royal in order to get their village off the ground. Now, Itachi doesn't actually want to, but he didn't see a problem with throwing it out there, should the need arise. It's not like Itachi could somehow get pregnant from it or get the royal pregnant from it. It was like Madara and Izuna thought that Itachi wanted to have sex with that fruity royal. That wasn't the case. More than anything, Itachi wanted this alliance, this village, to work. He wanted his brothers to be cocooned in the center of this safety bubble that this village would hopefully provide. They may think Itachi was crazy for offering to sleep with the royal in order to keep his favor, but if it meant protecting his brothers, then he would do it in a heartbeat. Even if Izuna and Madara were against it, they came first to Itachi. Even if they hated him. But there was no such offer. As far as they are concerned, right now the young lord has no such intentions. He was merely commenting on Itachi's, beauty. There is no indication that he is even looking for a sexual relationship. It's the simple fact that Itachi offered to sleep with him if it was needed that has his brothers' heads blasting off their shoulders in exasperation. But Itachi said nothing. He just listened to his brothers go on and on about how horrible an idea it is to sleep with a client just to keep his business and how equally, if not more horrible, it was for Itachi to even suggest such a thing in the first place. Once it appeared as they've said their piece, Itachi stealthily snuck away, lest they find more reason to continue this discussion. Ultimately, as much as Itachi respected and loved his brothers, he would do whatever it took to keep them safe. Whatever it took. Itachi awoke in the middle of the night with a fright. His eyes scanned the dark room around himself, searching for a predator in the night. But he was alone in his room with his blood roaring in his ears and his heart trying to leap from his chest. Itachi dreamed about a neighborhood, it appeared. There was dozens of buildings. It was late at night and the moon was full, hovering menacingly over the collection of homes, witnessing the slaughter going on down on the streets below. The dream started out with the home darkened out, most of the occupants sleeping inside. But then, in a flash, the occupants were killed in their homes. Men, women, and children. No one was safe from the murder, from the massacre. At some point in the dream, some of the men and women awakened to the carnage and tried to fight back to defend themselves and their loved ones, but they too were cut down. It was easily done, without an ounce of emotion. Itachi was forced to sit and watch in horror as children were slaughtered in their beds like lamb. The only shining moment was that none of them were awake for it. The children died quietly, painlessly, in their sleep. But the entire thing left Itachi feeling sick to his stomach. It was only nearing the end of the massacre that Itachi realized to his absolute horror that it wasn't just a random bunch of men, women and children that were being killed. While he didn't recognize any of them, there was something that he could not deny. They were all Uchiha. Itachi jumped to his feet, running to the door leading out into the hallway that opens up into the backyard. He runs out into the middle of the yard and drops to his knees, puking heartily on the ground. Itachi didn't usually have a weak stomach, but for some reason that hit him harder than he could ever have imagined it could have. His entire body was bent over his puke puddle, muscles pulled taut until all the contents in his stomach, including his stomach acid, was killing the grass right in front of him. Itachi's body shakes so violently that he has to fall backwards onto his butt to avoid falling into the mess. He lays down onto his back, closing his eyes and enjoying the cool night air against his flushed skin. He rolls onto his side, away from the puke, and curls up into a ball to try and contain his trembling. He closes his eyes tightly. The pain in his gut is white hot. Itachi makes a soft whimper of pain, curling tighter in on himself. He's in pain and his emotions are heightened, leaving him feeling raw. At this moment, Itachi would sacrifice everything to make the pain in his body and images of dead Uchiha burned into the back of his eyelids disappear. Itachi hasn't been sleeping well since right after they moved to this new home. The pain in his belly has been steadily getting worse as time passes and it's affecting his mood, concentration, and even making it hard to eat. It's an actual chore to choke down even the smallest bit of food. Just enough to keep himself alive. What was happening to him? Why does he keep seeing these horrible images behind his eyelids? Why are his dreams filled with the murder of his family? Does this have something to do with Maroon? Is Itachi somehow being punished for not yet finding the person or people who killed his brother? For taking his life for granted thus far? Itachi! Someone grabs his arms, pulling him up toward them. Itachi opens his eyes to see that it's still dark out. So Itachi couldn't have been laying there for too long. Yet his body is already chilled in the exposed night air. His eyes focus in on Madara's face, twisted in worry. Aniki! Itachi croaks, feeling like trash. It felt like his body was physically rebelling against him. It felt like he was being ripped apart on the inside. The small, childish part of Itachi wanted to be held by his big brother, comforted by him, because as the youngest brother, it was his right to be a little spoiled. Wasn't it? If that's true, why does it feel like a crime whenever he does? All he's ever wanted, for as long as he could remember, he's wanted his brothers to be alive and happy. It was impossible for Itachi to ask for anything from them. He always felt like he didn't deserve it. Itachi felt like a sickness. He felt like he was something nasty and impure in his brother's radiant light. He knew that his brothers weren't perfect, but in some way, they would always be better than him. They would always be cleaner than he. Itachi, what are you doing out here? Madara asks, pulling the youngest Uchiha brother into his arms, putting one hand flush against Itachi's forehead. Kami, Itachi, you're burning up. Itachi blinks slowly. How did you know I was out here? Madara looks at him like he's delusional. He feels a little delusional. He hesitates a bit before looking away from Itachi, eyes scanning the open courtyard around their house. I check on you and Izuna at night sometimes. Madara blushes a bit in embarrassment about having to admit to his overprotectiveness. Itachi couldn't stop himself from smiling faintly at that. You get embarrassed over the silliest things, brother? Itachi says softly. Madara pulls his hand away from Itachi's forehead and scoops his little brother up easily into his arms. Now it's Itachi's turn to be embarrassed. Even if he was slightly feverish, he still had his pride. He wiggles around in his brother's arms. Put me down. I can walk. Shut up and rest. Madara grunts, still a bit embarrassed. You're sick. Deal with a bit of pampering. Itachi stops wiggling, wondering what the odds were of him sort of wishing to be spoiled a bit and actually getting it not so long later. Itachi stares up at his older brother, watching his embarrassment fade as he focuses on getting Itachi back into his room and back into bed. Itachi's eyes droop closed immediately, slipping into slumber before he knows it. He awakens again to Madara putting a cool washcloth onto his forehead. Feels great. Now that his body is warm and his forehead is cool, he can sleep a bit more peaceful. Itachi knew that Madara would be busy in the morning, yet he knew that his older brother wouldn't leave him alone that night. Itachi isn't perfect and neither is his brothers. But it's at moments like this, Itachi knew that all of the bad and questionable things his brothers did meant nothing. Madara, regardless of what anyone says, is very kind. The best type of older brother. Thankfully, whatever bug Itachi caught was gone by morning. He felt groggy and tired with an ache in his stomach and head, but it was all things that could be ignored as he got up to start his day. Madara had slipped away to get ready for his as well before Itachi woke up. Feeling better? Madara asked as they crossed paths in the hall. Yes, thank you, brother, Itachi says softly, tipping his head a bit to Madara. Madara reaches out and puts his palm against Itachi's forehead, holding it there for a moment before nodding with a faint smile. Good, I'm glad you're better. Do the rounds with Izuna today if you're feeling up to it. I've got to go to a meeting with Hashirama first thing this morning, so I'm going to be heading out now. Let me know if you need me. Itachi nods, waving his hand around a bit. Goodbye, Aniki. Madara smiles faintly before moving past Itachi toward the front door. Itachi hesitates a moment before turning toward his brother and calling out his name. Once Madara is half turned toward him, curiously, Itachi says, softly, "Thank you for staying with me last night. I really needed that." Madara blinks a few times before walking back over to Itachi and putting a hand on the back of his head, pulling him close so that his forehead can press against Madara's. The Uchiha patriarch looks into Itachi's eyes solemnly. "I'll do anything for you, brother," he says simply before turning away and heading out the door only seconds later. Itachi believed him. "Not hungry?" Hashirama asks. That night, pulling Itachi from his thoughts. Itachi looks up from his bowl of rice, confused. He looks around for the person who spoke to him before his eyes land on Hashirama. "Did you say something, Hashirama?" Hashirama, with his own bowl of rice in his hand, sits down next to Itachi around the fire pit. It was loud and filled with the two clans. It was hard to make out any one conversation. "I asked, are you not hungry?" Hashirama asks again, smiling kindly. Itachi looks down at his nearly full bowl. He was hungry, but his body just wasn't participating with him anymore. It was a fight every single day to hold food down. He just wasn't up to it right now. He lays the bowl down next to him and rests his forearms against his knees. "No," he says honestly, "there was no point in hiding it. I'm just not feeling like it right now. What about you? How is your day going?" Hashirama takes a bite of his rice, chewing thoughtfully for a moment before swallowing and answering, "I'm good. Thank you for asking, Itachi." He beams down at Itachi, making the younger boy smile a bit at the look. "But are you not feeling well?" A pause, then, "Madara told me you weren't feeling all that well last night. Do you still not feel well?" Itachi rolls his eyes. "I should have expected that." Madara worries too much. He says, not at all angry. "I'm fine," he says quickly, not wanting to let it be known that he was lying about that. The pain in his gut isn't normal, before continuing, "I just don't have much of an appetite today. How is the village coming along?" "It's good," Hashirama says slowly. He looks like he wants to check to make sure that Itachi is okay, but is respecting his personal space enough not to just reach out toward him like Madara did that morning. Itachi looks away, rolling his eyes and shaking his head. Hashirama is just too cute. "Itachi, about the meeting yesterday," Hashirama says softly, eyes scanning the people around the fire pit. He looks back over at Itachi shyly. "About what you said." The youngest Uchiha brother tilts his head to the side. "About what? Sleeping with Geumu?" Hashirama flushes in embarrassment. "What about it?" Hashirama rolls his shoulders back. I just wanted to say that, well, while we deeply appreciate what you are willing to do for us in this village, I wanted you to know that you don't ever have to go that for us. There are other ways of making our village a powerful, respectable, but most of all peaceful one. And doing things like that, I want you to put it from your mind." Itachi raises an eyebrow. "But what if you need me to do it?" Itachi asks. Hashirama shakes his head animatedly. "No, put it from your mind, Itachi. We will never ask that of you, okay? So, don't think about that anymore. Do you hear me, Itachi?" Itachi stares at him for a long moment before nodding slowly. "Yes, I understand. I won't talk about it anymore." Hashirama looks relieved. "Good." Hashirama lets out a long breath, putting down his own half-eaten bowl and running a hand through his hair. At Itachi's curious look, Hashirama smiles tiredly at him. "Sorry. Madara and I just had a nice long talk about what the future of the village needs to look like, and in order for us to be successful, we need to start working really hard. A lot harder than I suppose I really thought we would. I'm ready. He smiles wanly. "I'm just worried about it is all." "I understand," Itachi says softly. "These next few years are going to be long and tiring. Don't worry, Hashirama. This isn't just for you to bear, especially alone. The rest of us are here for the same reason you are. We want this alliance and this village to work. You and Madara just need to tell us what you need of us and expect that it will be done right. Okay." Hashirama smiles, putting his arm around Itachi's shoulders. "Yes, thank you, Itachi. You are a good boy, thank you." Itachi blushes a bit, looking around at everything but the Senju clan leader. You're welcome, Hashirama. Thank you, too." "Anything for you," Hashirama says simply, echoing the words that Madara had said earlier that morning. Itachi looks over at him with widened-out eyes, wondering what the chances were. "Thank you," Itachi says softly, blushing deeply. "You're welcome. Well, I got to go now. I'll see you later. Let me know if you aren't feeling well. Okay? I'll help you out." Hashirama messes up his hair and stands up, grabbing his bowl and walking off with a little wave and a wink at Itachi over his shoulder before disappearing into the darkness of the night. That's the 7th part finished. If you want to catch up on the earlier chapters, head to the playlist. Please remember to support the author. I'll be back with more soon. Thanks for being awesome.